Hello everyone, today I'm going over GCSE chemistry and I'll be focusing on the reactivity series. So let's recap the properties of metals. So metals have high melting points, they are good conductors of electricity, they are malleable, meaning able to be hammered or pressed into shape, they are ductile, meaning able to be drawn out into thin wires, they are dense, meaning closely compact in substance, and they are also shiny. So remember, there are only three metals that are magnetic. One is iron, another is cobalt, another is nickel. So the reactivity series. So metal electron arrangement have electrons on the outermost shell that they want to get rid of. So when metals react with other substances, they get rid of these outer electrons. So by losing their electrons, they form positive ions. So what is meant by the reactivity of a metal is how easily they form these positive ions. So metals that form the ions most quickly are the most reactive. So by then comparing all these metals, we can then order them in order of reactivity, which is then called the reactivity series. So we can clearly see that carbon and hydrogen are non-metals, but they are still included in the reactivity series as they give references to compare the metals. The most reactive metals are group 1 metals, making group 2 metals less reactive and transition metals being the least reactive. So in order to find out the order, you need to react these metals with either acids or with either water. Then to compare their relative reactivity, you need to see how fast or violent the reactions are. So if we react a metal with an acid, it will form a salt and hydrogen gas. So for example, if we react potassium with hydrochloric acid, it will form potassium chloride and hydrogen. So since potassium is so reactive, it will react explosively, even possibly catching fire, moving around as it produces lots of hydrogen gas. So these reactions will become less violent going down the series. So by the time we reach magnesium, it will produce bubbles as the solid metal disappears in the acid. So as we would see fewer bubbles with zinc and iron. Then copper won't usually react at all. So instead of watching the reaction to see how violent it is, we can just measure the temperature change in the reaction. So this is because the most reactive metals will produce the most heat. So when comparing these metals, we need to make sure it's a fair test by ensuring that each of the metals have the same mass or the same surface area. We then also have to use the same type of concentration of acid each time. So if we react metals with water instead of acid, they form metal hydroxides and hydrogen. Only the most reactive metals can do this. Zinc, iron and copper won't react at all, while magnesium will only react very slightly. So displacement reactions. This is when more reactive metals can displace less reactive ones. So if we put some magnesium in a solution of iron sulfate, then the magnesium will displace the ion to then form magnesium sulfate plus iron. This is because magnesium is more reactive than iron, therefore it will displace it. So if we then add copper to the solution, nothing will happen as copper isn't as reactive as iron, meaning that it cannot displace it. Thank you everyone for listening to my video. Bye.